So, this is going to be pretty loose, like most of my videos. This one is about the ridiculousness of, I guess, a Christian God versus the sadness of reality, as usual. Yes, I'm complaining again. Um, I just watched a movie tonight. It was called Blue is the Warmest Color. I didn't want to watch it. My dad wanted to watch it. He likes artsy French films. And basically, it was the story of a lesbian who falls in love and then breaks up. That's the story. It's one of these, realism movies, trying to capture the feelings of being in a relationship. Now, I don't understand why most people, why most people are so, excited to relive the love experience through vicariously. You know, the movie actually makes sense for somebody like me who hasn't really experienced it, but but I hated it, and I don't understand why people keep wanting to relive. People love drama, they love love, they love the it's just they love the whole process of it, even if it's sad in the end and they feel heartbroken in the end. It's like people are just obsessed with love and relationships, and not people aren't obsessed with platonic love the way they are with romantic love. People aren't obsessed with love for their dog. You don't hear tons of songs being written about people's love for their dogs, particularly, or people's love for their parents. The songs are always written about relationships and sex, and I think that that's because of the ridiculousness of what life is, which is basically all life is based around trying to have sex. That's really what it is. If you go with the scientific viewpoint of it, we're here to procreate, and that's it. That's our only useful function. Once we procreate, nature is done with us. That is the only thing. So really, basically, and that what's really depressing about that is you only really get to be ripe once in life. You're like everyone is sort of like any life, like a fruit. You come to maturity and you have your moment of sort of prime attractiveness where you're supposed to be with somebody and have kids. That time passes, and then it's like nature just forgets about you. It says, well, we're done with you. You're expendable now. You've either served your purpose or you didn't serve your purpose, and so we cast you aside and move on to the next group of people. And, you know, it's just so amazingly simple and, meaningless. Why have kids? There's no specific reason. It's just because that's your prime directive is to keep life going. Life is this, this is basically all. Now this is, the scientific standpoint. I got it from watching the Cosmos. I mean, I knew that this was the standpoint, but the Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson really hammered it home. Life is just this mindless, stupid, instinct following program that has no understanding of its purpose whatsoever. It just goes towards making more of itself. And that's it. And, in that way, I mean, we're no better than a virus. All we want to do is self replicate, and everything is on in the world, in society, is based around that. It's like you work for, your early life is blissfully unaware of those things, and that's why I think, for me anyway, I'm sure for a lot of people, maybe not most people probably appreciate their college years, and they think that's the best, most excitement you can have. For me, it was elementary school up to about, up to puberty was fantastic. That's ideal. It didn't require anything You know, it wasn't like there was any pressure on you to do anything. You could just enjoy life for what it was, and that was great. But after puberty, life just becomes a constant torture because there's this prime directive that you have to follow out for no apparent reason. No reason whatsoever. Just because it's there. And if you don't do it, um, you are, ostracized, and people think you're weird, and they don't want to, they think there's something wrong with you. They question your sanity, question your psychological health, and they laugh at you. They make you into they like to think that you're a fool and that they're successful because they've completed the prime directive of procreating, and you are a failure. And by nature's gauge, you are a failure if you don't have sex. Or not, sorry, if you don't have sex, but if you don't have kids. And not having sex is related to that, but it's really more about the kids. But and what really sucks about it is, we don't control. There's no control over how attractive you are. You come in, and people win the genetic lottery, or they don't. And those people who win the genetic lottery, they get to have sex all they want, pretty much. There's no reason why they shouldn't, unless, of course, they become religious. But, that's what's so terrible about it. There's, the one thing that we're supposed to do is determined not by our own actions as much as it's determined by the genes we've been given. And that's just totally unfair. You know, it's ridiculous. One defect, and you have Down syndrome, and you're not going to be able to sleep with anybody, or you're a hermaphrodite. I don't know. Maybe hermaphrodites would sleep with people, but it's like most of who wins in the world, given that having sex is the only thing that makes you a winner, just like alpha males and other species, because that's really the only thing that matters is to science and to evolution, is having sex and having children. Um, because it's the only thing that matters. You have these douchebags, tons of douchebags, get to be alpha males. They're born privileged to have those genes, and they go through life um, just, getting what they want without having had to work for it or try particularly hard. They just get the success genes, and that's that. It's over. You can, if you have crappy genes, there are ways to work yourself towards success anyway. But it's like, if you have shitty genes, if you're ugly, or you have a third arm, as a joke, and it's more of a joke. If you have some kind of genetic defect that you'll pass along, then why bother trying to have sex? You're just ruining the prime directive, which is continual improvement. So it's like, if you're ugly, or you have some genetic problem that makes you slow, or makes you something bad, makes you weak, whatever, then you shouldn't even really be trying. You should just die. It'd be better off if you died, for everyone. And that's just sad. Nature doesn't care about the weak among us. Nature doesn't care about the downtrodden. Nature doesn't care about those people that suffer. It's just cutthroat. It's like, well, you didn't have enough to get by, then you're done. And it's like, so there's that side of it. There's the scientific side of it, which winners and losers are completely arbitrary. Nobody earns their success. It's mostly just luck. And then there's and even if, like I say, even if you don't have the get lucky in the genetic lottery, there's some question about whether you should even be having kids anyway, because you don't want to pass on inferior genes. And then there's the religious side of it that says, it's not about it's only about having one child and being a good father, and it's like, I don't know. There's Buddhism, which says, it's not about making attachments. You don't really need to have a wife. You don't really need to have kids. You just need to realize that this is all pointless. I mean, I don't know if that's what it is, if it's pointless. I mean, it seems like bodhisattvas are the people who become enlightened are supposed to come back to Earth to help everyone understand that enlightenment is the point, kind of. But whether or not you believe in Christianity or Buddhism, it's just dumb. Why would anyone go through this ridiculous exercise? On Christianity's side, you've got a God saying, well, you have all these natural urges, but you're not supposed to follow them. You know, you if you want to be a good Christian, you spend your life battling your urges. You get married to one woman, even though you want to sleep with every woman you see. And you have to kind of fly. If you're going to live the Christian life, you have to live a life of, try to live a life of dignity while everyone laughs at you and tells you you're wasting your life with one woman only. You should have, sampled things, and if you're a virgin, you're a joke, and you're never supposed to think about other women. You're never supposed to look at them. You can't, and when you after you've had your children, basically Christianity tells you you're done. You're not supposed to do anything else. You're not even supposed to sleep with your wife anymore. You're supposed to have children, have sex for children, and that's it. And then the rest of your life, God expects you to just march on, and say, well, now you're just a father. Your sexual urges are totally are to be ignored from that point forward. And you know, basically, it's like after that point, you're just like living with a friend for the rest of the time, and it's boring. It's like you only get a small period of time of excitement in life, and then most of your life is supposed to be boredom by Christianity. So it's just kind of like, this is why would anyone sign up for this life? Why would anyone sign up for these rules? Why? And then meanwhile, you have to believe in something that has no proof whatsoever. God gives you no signs that he exists. You just have to believe it because you do. And that's that. You have to have faith for some unknown reason. And you have to wonder the whole time, and I think there are a lot of bitter Christians about this, are the secular people enjoying themselves more because they're not following the rules? And maybe if you have true faith, it doesn't matter. You enjoy yourself anyway. But I wonder how many people really, it seems silly to believe in something 100% when there's just no proof for it. It just seems gullible. It's like, why would God make it so difficult to be a good Christian if it was a Christian God? On the Buddhist side of it, it just, the point of life is to, rejoin as one. That's their idea. That, become enlightened, realize that everything's the same. It's like, what is the point of that? It's like, it's just dumb. It almost seems like, we were thrown into this as some kind of punishment. What was the punishment? How can you throw innocent people into, a samsara situation of constant suffering without us doing anything wrong? I never did anything wrong before I was born. And both Buddhism and Christianity, either one, would condemn me to a life of pain and suffering. With Buddhism, it's because there's always a want for something in life. And with Christianity, it's because you have to deny your instincts. And not only that, but Christianity goes another step further and tells you, oh, by the way, there's going to be horrible pain and death, and the world is going to end, and sulfur in the air. It's just going to be, people are dying. You're going to be, there's famines and locusts, and the devil's going to rise. And it's like, this is what we have to believe. This is what God wants for us. God wants everything to end in fire, and torment and horribleness. Why would anyone want to believe that? Why would God want to put everyone through that? It's ridiculous. If you were God and you had control over how things generally went, then why would you allow the ending of the story to be so grim and horrible? It's the same thing with death. Why does the end of life have to be so grim and horrible? Why do you have to watch everyone you know die, and watch your own health get deteriorate, and watch and feel horrible pain most of the time? Near the end of your life, you're doomed to feel pain, and you're doomed to, even a lot most of the time, know that your death is coming, and think about the fact that you're doomed. These are all just terrible, terrible things that people have to live through, and it's just cruel. Life is just so cruel to people. And I don't see how it's hard for me to believe in a God. I would love to believe in God. I'd love to have the comfort that God was going to, you know, review my life and say, okay, well, you didn't do anything terrible. You're a good person. You get to live in heaven for 1,000 years or whatever the hell that people believe. But, I have a too hard a time believing that God would be so cruel as to make everybody follow these ridiculously specific rules. And not only that, but to um, not only follow those ridiculously specific rules, but what was the other part of this? Oh, boy, I'm losing it. Specific rules. Not only follow these specific rules, but also, to be such a megalomaniac God. Don't follow other religions. Don't look at other gods. Praise me every day. Get down on your knees. Tell me how great I am all the time. Worship me and look at my amazingness. Look at the world I created. It's just so, it's like God is the ultimate peacock. He wants everyone to constantly acknowledge his greatness. And why? Because we live in a world where there is a lot of beauty, but there's also tons of suffering, and where there's all these rules we have to follow that are against everything that we naturally desire. It's like, what kind of a world do you live in where, all the rules go against what you want? It's like you can't be happy in a Christian world unless you have a unassailable faith that comes from no proof whatsoever. A faith in something that we were given intellect to think, and yet we're supposed to supersede our intellect or bury it and say, oh no, there's some invisible man or invisible force that's controlling everything that we have to give praise to. It's like, the whole idea is ridiculous. So it's like, so basically what I'm saying, let me just wrap this up here. On one side, Christianity seems absolutely ridiculous. It's a bunch of contradictions, and it's sort of just a god that seems like a sadist. It seems like a sadist god. And on the other side of it, if you don't believe in God, it's equally disappointing because it's just this meaningless exercise in pointless mating. That's it. Just mating for the sake of mating, where there's no justice, rhyme, or reason to the whole thing. It just happens, and that's that. It's just all garbage, no matter what you believe. And, on the Buddhist side of it, it's this suffering through existence that none of us signed up for, that none of us were given the option of not signing up for. We're just brought into this world and expected to deal. And any way you slice it, it's just effing lame. There are good things in life, but in the end, the bad things, it's like it's almost like a story where, good things happen, but then in the end, who likes a story with a sad ending? And that's what life guarantees you. A story with a crap ending, and a story where most of the time the negative is going to outweigh the positive, whether you try to see the positive or not. The bottom line is most of your life is, a combination of sad, lonely, painful, and suffering. And the good that you have is so few and far between that even though you should appreciate it, it does not come close to making up for all the difficulty that we have to face all the time. That's just how it is, unfortunately.